Hi everyone, so going to kick us off. So good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're dialing on from. Thanks for coming along to my talk today. So my name is Loretta Brunette and I'm a product manager from Atlassian and I work on Jira Work Management. So in my talk today, I'm going to cover how you can align business and software teams with Jira Work Management. So I'll kick off with a little bit of brief history about me. So I fell into product management over 10 years ago now. I couldn't believe it when I actually did the maths when preparing for this conversation. But I've worked at a whole range of companies, all Australian companies actually, ranging from Qantas Airlines to MYOB accounting software, Ansarada, which is an online virtual data room for business transactions, and HirePages, which is a B2C consumer marketplace to connect tradies and consumers. I joined Atlassian almost 2 years ago now, so in October 2020, and I've been in the JWM team since earlier this year. So in terms of what I'll cover today, I'm going to talk a bit about Jira Work Management, or JWM as I refer to it, just a really brief history. I'll then talk about some of the cool features we offer in JWM and what really stands the product apart feature-wise from the other Jira products. I'll then dive into a really high-level use case to talk about how you can actually use the product to align both your business and software teams during a project. And I'll focus on the first three phases of a typical project, being ideation, planning, and execution. And then I have about 15 minutes at the end to walk through Q&A. So we also have Matt Canham on the call. So Matt's a product manager in the JWM team as well. So he'll be the moderator for the call. So as questions come up, feel free to drop them in the chat. Matt will collect all the questions and we'll go through those at the end of the session as well. So I'll dive into it. So about JWM. So JWM was launched to the public in April 2021. So it's been available publicly for about 18 months. And it came out of the Point A program in Atlassian. So the Point A program is Atlassian's innovation hub for new products, and some really cool products are coming out of that program. So what the team saw at the time, they saw two things essentially. So firstly, the team saw that a number of business or non-software teams were actually using Jira Software in order to manage their business projects or their work management, but they saw that Jira Software wasn't quite fit for purpose. Secondly, they saw a lot of feedback coming through from software teams saying that they wanted to get the other teams that they work with, other stakeholders that they collaborate with, into Jira to make for easy collaboration all in one tool. And so Jira Work Management was really a product built in order to solve for this. So if you're familiar with Jira Core, Jira Work Management was actually built on Jira Core, and JWM uses the Jira platform. So what that means is a lot of the Jira platform capabilities, so ranging from configuration and workflow and issue types and custom fields, as well as a lot of the end user front end features, such as attachments and the editor and fields. Those are common across JWM, the same as the other Jira products. And so when you are using JWM, you have that sense of familiarity if you do use other Jira products as well. All right, so I'm going to talk through some of the cool features we offer in JWM, and cool is a technical term we use for our features in the team. So some might argue this is the best feature we offer, but if you have a Jira Cloud license, so a license for either Jira Software or for Jira Service Management, you get free access to Jira Work Management. And a lot of customers don't actually believe me when I say that. We don't actually feature gate any of the features in JWM, so you get full access to the product. So you can go in, you can create a work management template when you create a project and start utilizing the JWM project. And that's the same for all users within your team as well. So there's nothing to pay, there's just free access for you to use the product. So once you actually create a project or a few projects and you log into the product, into JWM, you can see all of your business projects from the left sidebar here. So we know that particularly in business teams, often team members are working across a number of projects. So we make it really easy for you to switch between your business projects in the sidebar here. Another unique feature we offer is the ability for admins of the project to change the background color of their project, and all team members within the project will see the same background color. And it's actually quite a handy visual cue if you are working across a number of projects, just to remind yourself what project you're actually in. Once you do create a business project, and I should mention that similar to a software project in Jira Software or a service project in Jira Service Management, a project within JWM is called a business project. And if you're familiar with company managed and team managed projects from Jira Software, we have the same available within JWM. So you can create either a company or a team managed project in JWM. So once you set up your business project, this summary page is automatically generated. And this gives essentially a helicopter view of the status of your project, how that business project is progressing, all based on the tasks within that project, as well as a breakdown of recent activity. And we recently relaunched this page in May, and it's getting really good customer feedback. So once you start working in the project, there's essentially 4 views in which you can visualize your tasks according to what you want to see. So we have the board view, which most people are familiar with from the Kanban board in JSW. But we also have the list view, where you can see a list of all of your tasks within your project. And if you have subtasks configured in your project, you'll see those embedded under the parent task as well. We have the calendar view, so you can see the start and end dates across the days and the dates. And then the timeline view as well, which is essentially a Gantt chart where you can map out and visualize the different tasks. Across these 4 different views, you can also filter based on a number of fields configured to that project. So this is in, we've just come out of user testing for this feature, so please note it's a concept only. But what we'll offer shortly is the ability to combine multiple projects across the different views. So we'll probably launch with one view, but essentially if you're working across a number of projects and those projects are related, we want to make it easy for you to bring those projects together and get that consolidated view of those projects and those tasks. So in the list view, you can also group your tasks. You can group your tasks by status, work category, assignee, or priority. And whatever you select, that will show as swim lines in the list view, just on the left here. And this grouping functionality is coming to the board view soon as well. Oops. And another feature on timelines is you can map your dependencies. So within that business project, at the moment, you can drag and drop really easily to map dependencies within that project. You can hover over the dependency line to find out more information about the actual dependency and what issues blocking what other task. And as dependencies start to overlap, those will highlight red, and that way you can kind of easily follow along to see any blocks or risks there. Another feature we offer, which is unique to the other Jiras, is we call it multiplayer mode, but it's essentially online collaboration in real time. And this is available across the 4 views, not just in the board view. So when you log into your business projects, you'll see your other team members at the top here, and you can see who's online at the same time as you or who's offline. And then as your team members start to update the different tasks, whether it be, again, whether it's in the board view or the list view, you can see those movements in real time. And it just gives that sense of that online collaboration, particularly in today's world where we're often working in remote teams. Another feature we offer is embeds. So you can essentially copy and paste the URL of the 4 views into the Atlassian editor. So the Atlassian products that utilize the ADF editor, you can copy and paste this link. So really popular usage of this is embedding views into Confluence, and that enables you to share your project information. So whether it's the timeline or the calendar view, it enables for your stakeholders to follow along because it's an embed. That information is updated in real time, so you don't need to worry about going to different pages and updating information. So this is available across the 4 views. It's also being built for the moment for the summary page, which I showed earlier in the talk, and it's also available for JWM forms, which I will talk to next. So the final feature I'll walk through in this section is JWM forms. So these are separate to advanced forms. They're a really simple form in order for teams to collect requests from other teams, to collect questions, or to ideate on different ideas. There's a whole bunch of uses for forms. It's really simple in terms of configuration. You can just drag and drop particular fields configured to that issue type. You can select what actual issue type is created when a form is submitted. You can also set up automations in the background for when ideas or requests come through. And as I mentioned, these can be embedded similar to the other views. So you can create a form and then embed it into a Confluence page and use that as a way to manage work requests, for example, from other teams. Okay, so moving into how you can actually use a product to align business and software teams during a project. So I'm going to talk through just a really simple use case to try to put the example into context. So let's pretend that JRead are a book publisher, and they also offer a subscription service to access their ebooks. The marketing team have a goal in FY23 to increase signups from their website by 25%, so a pretty big goal. And so they're formed a cross-functional team to work on this initiative and look at how they can actually achieve this goal. So their team consists of a representative from marketing, a design manager, a product manager, a sales manager, and also a software engineer. So they kick off with the ideation phase. So Laurel, their product manager, she's very experienced and she has a lot of tips for the teams as they're working together. And she has 3 main tips for the teams when they're ideating across their cross-functional team. So firstly, she really wants the software teams and the developers to be included in this project and to be present in ideation sessions. So developers are people too, and they often have really great ideas. And it's really important to have that team cohesion by including everyone in the cross-functional team up front in those ideation sessions. Secondly, it's really important to set the context and align on the why as a team, particularly if not everyone has context around the project or the goal you're trying to achieve. It's really important to kick off those initial ideation meetings with setting those contexts and making sure everyone's coming in with the same understanding and the same information. And the third tip is to avoid feasibility rabbit holes. And this is something I see particularly with developers who are so knowledgeable about different products or different technologies. In ideation, you really want to focus on what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to achieve it without going into the details around how you're going to do that from either a technical point of view or a feasibility point of view as well. So try to keep that higher level picture when you are ideating. So the team, they all get together. They're a remote team, so they all spread out across the globe. So they all jump into a Zoom call for an ideation session. So they kick off with going to project page. Firstly, they create a marketing ideation business project. They kick off with going to project pages, and the marketing manager has prepared a bit of a brief for the team to really set the context and align on why they are all together. So a kickoff. She's used a Confluence template here and really reiterating what they're trying to achieve. So they want to increase signups and talking through how the different things they need to consider when looking at that. So they spend the first kind of 5-10 minutes on alignment, answering questions and going through this page. They then all turn their cameras off, and for the next 20 minutes, they spend some individual time just brainstorming their different ideas. So each person is thinking about how they can increase signups, what are different solutions or things we can explore. They can see the online collaboration, so everyone can see everyone else's ideas coming through. And they end up with a whole bunch of ideas in which they're then going to review as a group in their ideation session. So they then turn their cameras back on. They move to the list view. And now they want to start doing a version of affinity mapping to see what the ideas are that have come through. So every time you create a business project, it comes with a default field, which is called a category. And you can assign one category to one work item or one task. So the team, they go through, they assign the different category to each idea, and they do this collectively. They then look to group by category, and you can see this at the side here. And now they've got a bit of an affinity map to see where are the largest volumes of opportunities. So they look again at their goal. They want to increase signups, and as a team, they believe there's the most opportunity within the branding space. They then have an idea that they really want to collect other ideas around how to achieve the goal from other stakeholders within the business. So they create a form, really a form just to collect other ideas from people in the business. They embed this into a Confluence page. They then take the link from this Confluence page. They send out a whole bunch of emails. They post it in Slack channels. They include it in blogs, and they really communicate it throughout the team. So over the next couple of weeks, they can get information or ideas coming through from other stakeholders in their team. So now they've had their ideation session, they now move to their planning session. And again, Laurel, being the micromanager that she is, has another 3 tips for the teams when planning. So firstly, similar to ideating together, it's really important to also prioritize together. So the team doesn't feel like only 1 or 2 people are doing the prioritization and then handing that down to the team. So that she really suggests that the team does come together again to do this. It's also important to consistently break down large tasks and have a consistent methodology to do that across the different teams and the different disciplines. It really makes it easier for any type of tracking or reporting if you're comparing like for like. And then the third tip is to make cross-team dependencies clear. And that's not important just for the team members doing the work, but also for other stakeholders and leadership who are involved in the project or involved in the business, to make sure they're clear of any impacts they make around prioritization or any type of direction. So again, the team jump on another call, and this time it's for a very exciting prioritization session. So they log back into their marketing ideation business project, and they go to the list view for this one. So again, they've got all of their ideas around how they're going to achieve their goal listed in the list view. And they then set up a very simple prioritization framework where, as a team, they look at the impact. So looking at each idea, what impact do they think that idea can actually have on driving new signups? They also look at effort, and they're just using t-shirt sizes for this. So how much effort is involved in each idea? This isn't just for software, but this is for the cross-functional team. And then based on those 2 ratings, they assign a priority to each individual idea. And again, they do this collectively as a group. So what you'll be able to do pretty soon, this is actually in development at the moment, is you'll be able to add comments to the list view as well. So as a team are going through and prioritizing, they can capture notes as they do that. And then if anyone else has questions around something's prioritized a particular way, or if the team in a couple of weeks can't remember why they assigned a particular prioritization score to an idea, they can come back to the original idea as a source of truth and read any commentary that was added around that. So the team, they do have their ideation, they do all of their prioritization, they then a list view and they sort by priority, and they all agree that the biggest opportunity they have to increase signups through their marketing website is to relaunch a new sign-up page with a new design. So that's their highest priority task or idea that they're going to execute on. So they then go away and start their planning. So they create another business project, the new sign-up page. And this is where the business teams are going to collaborate together. So it's mainly marketing and design who are going to work on this new sign-up page and developing a new template for that. There's pretty small software work, not much kind of software or development work. So the software team is going to use their existing software project, and they're just going to add some tasks to their sprint where they need to build out the template in the new CMS. So each discipline, or kind of each representative within the team, they spend some time planning out their tasks. They break down the larger tasks into subtasks so that they can manage each piece of work and work with their teams within there. They also link issues to make sure that dependencies are very clear and have owners. So being on the Jira platform and part of the cloud instance, you can link issues not only to other business projects, but you can also link issues to software projects and vice versa. So each team can follow along the progress of issues that either blocked or are blocked by other teams. The product manager also uses advanced roadmaps to get that helicopter view. So she's included both the software project and the business projects into this plan. And she's mapped the dependencies across the 2 projects. And each day she comes in, she looks at the progress of the work items. And she also looks at this dependency report here just to make sure she can identify where the risks are and where some slippage might be kind of approaching. And so now that the team is through the planning phase, they then move to the actual execution and driving the work forward. So again, Laurel has her handy 3 tips in the execution phase. So firstly, she really wanted teams to create seamless processes for handing work over. And that's especially important between the business and software teams. And that's a 2-way process as well. She also wants to make sure that members across teams are aware of decisions and make sure that there's open communication. And thirdly, she really wants everyone to keep their work visible and also keep their work updated so that any stakeholder who comes in to look at any type of update on the project is getting the latest and up-to-date information. So one of the benefits of being built on Jira platform is we get to utilize the automations engine. So in a business project, you can set up automations not only within the business project, but global automations across software projects if you do have a premium Jira software license or enterprise. And so in this example, when a business project task is moved to done, that will move all of the linked issues to in progress, and that includes across the software projects as well. So you can do that not only with status transitions, but you can do it with things like fields that are updated or attachments which are added to tasks as well. And you can also utilize third parties. So in this example, we can also set up a Slack integration. So when marketing does complete a task, for example, that can also trigger a notification in Slack so that people across teams are aware of that change or that update. Another way to do this is to either move or clone issues from your business project to your software project. So again, as a new animation design, for example, for the new sign up page is completed, the design manager could move that ticket across to the software project, or they could clone that into the software project as well. That's a bit more of a manual method as opposed to automation. Again, being on the Jira platform, you can utilize Jira teams. And so when particular updates or decisions are made, you can actually tag the team to let them know about their decision and actually draw their attention back to this task or decision here. And alternatively, the software team can also create boards to track the progress of the business project. So the developer on this project, they have their marketing software support project, and they have their stands up every day. They can come in, they can switch between boards and look at the progress of the business project as well. And that's a really quick and easy way to see in real time how are the tasks actually progressing. And of course, integrations really help to keep updated with the latest information and make sure that that information is accessible to the stakeholders as well. So for example, the design manager, he is doing all of the designs for the new sign up page in Figma. So he's integrated Figma, and anyone who's interested in the design, how it's progressing or how it's looking, can come in and have a look at that design. And in the same way, the marketing manager is writing all of his copy in Google Docs. So he's integrated with Google Drive. He's got the Google Doc in which he's drafting up his content. And anyone that's interested in coming in and finding out the latest status or what the copy is looking like can actually do that. So the team push on, they really power through getting through all of their tasks, and they're really keeping front of mind, keeping all of their tasks up to date, all of the fields updated, all of the statuses up to date. And it really becomes a habit for them daily as they're doing that, similar to how software teams, again, operate in Jira Software, because they know that this information is used so widely throughout their organization. So they have their timeline view has been embedded into their Confluence pages so that stakeholders can watch along and see the timeline and how the project is progressing. They've also set up dashboards within Jira. So the dashboards show particular data around the business project as well as the software project. And a lot of stakeholders use this as a way to get an update on the project in its entirety. They've also set up automations, and those automations are triggered and really rely on those tasks being updated. They use smart links as well. So a lot of the issue URLs are copy and pasted throughout other Jira tickets and also throughout Confluence. And of course, they set up the software board, which is based on the business project as well. So every team member knows that it's super important to keep all of their task information up to date, because all of that task information is used so widely throughout the business. And that's a pretty simple example as well. So they're pushing on. They can see that they're almost towards the end of actually building out the new sign up page. They're almost done. They've just got a few last minute things to do. And then the last thing they need to do is push the big red button and actually release the page to production. So that's a pretty simple example of how you can use Jira Work Management alongside Jira Software. A lot of information in that presentation, but if I'm going to leave with 3 things, the first is Jira Work Management has been designed for business teams, and it's really purpose-built for business teams. And that's kind of forefront of everything we do. We're really trying to make the product intuitive for business teams and meet their specific needs. Secondly, Jira Work Management is built on the Jira platform, and so it integrates with your other projects in your instance. And thirdly, and maybe the most important tip, it's free. So if you have a Jira Cloud license, whether it's Jira Software or Jira Service Management, yourself plus anyone else in the team who is licensed has free access to Jira Work Management. So you can go in, create a project and use a work management template. So if you see value in the product, give it a go and let your teams know as well. And that is it. I'm going to move to some question time.
Thanks, Loretta. That was awesome. We've had a question or 2 come in over the chat. I'll just remind everyone to drop your questions in the chat, and I'll ask them to Loretta as we go. But we'll start off with a tough one, Loretta. So Hakeem is asking, for teams that use different types of agile frameworks like Scrum, Kanban, or XP, how might they use those frameworks within Jira Work Management?
So the Jira Work Management templates, they are pretty generic in terms of like methodology. So you really can kind of adopt those according to how like you need to use them. So you can adopt the workflows or the fields and set that structure around them. But coming from that more business team approach, we don't kind of set those out in any of our templates. It's more about giving those flexibilities to the business teams in order to adopt those methodologies.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going to run through some questions that we commonly get from users and from customers when we talk to them, just because I feel like these might be some questions that are on the mind of people here today. So the first one is, how can users without Jira Software or Jira Service Management actually access Jira Work Management if they don't have those existing licenses?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, it's free for anyone with an existing license. In addition, you can actually sign up to JWM separately. So if you do have a business team, they don't have access to the other Jiras and they don't need access to the other Jiras, they can still be added to your instance or a new instance as a JWM user with a standalone license. They can be added as a free user or a standard user as well. We don't currently have enterprise or a premium license edition for our standalone licenses, but that's something that we're looking at in the future. But we've got our kind of bundled options with the existing Jiras, but there's some standalone license options as well.
Yeah, awesome. That's super helpful. Thank you. Another question, and I know this is an exciting one for a lot of people listening. What are some of the big features coming up on the Jira Work Management roadmap?
Sure. We've got a lot of features coming up on the roadmap. So I'll talk through some of the bigger ones. So some of them I did mention in that presentation. So we have grouping coming to the board view. We have comments coming to the list view. We have cross-project views where you'll be able to, from a view, select 2 or more projects and see all the tasks from that project. So those are some of the ones that I mentioned. Some other commonly requested ones, which are also on our roadmap, are approvals. So some way of putting approvals into the workflow. It will look different to the approvals feature in JSM. It'll have a bit more of that business team focus. We also have customized templates, which is another highly requested items. We're also currently rebuilding the Jira importer to make that a more intuitive experience. So if you're moving across from another tool, making that experience of getting all of your project data from another tool into your cloud instance easier and faster. Also working on the ability to save custom filters, so similar to what you can do in JSW, and also releases, Jira Software releases, adding those to the Jira Work Management calendar. That's just to name a few. So we do keep our public cloud roadmap updated with JWM features coming up as well. But that's just kind of a sneak peek into some of the things we're working on or about to work on.
Natish in the chat just asked if there's any particular enhancements coming to forms.
So forms, there are two things we are we're going to explore. We haven't quite started the exploration yet. So the first is being able to add additional fields to the form. So forms do support quite a wide range of fields configured to the issue types at the moment, but we are looking at increasing that support. And another one we want to explore is opening forms up to external collaboration. So at the moment, you can only submit as a requester or a submitter, you can only make a submission through a JWM form if you have permission to create an issue within that project. So essentially a permission to access that project. We want to look to open that up to external collaboration. So if you're, for example, working with like contractors or agencies or teams outside of your Jira instance, how can you still get that work intake from that team as well? So both of those are a bit more kind of medium to longer term on the roadmap, but they're two which we will potentially explore.
Well, that's exciting. There's so many things coming our way. It doesn't matter which part of the product you look at. Another question that we get commonly is if I'm a user using both Jira Software and Jira Work Management, is there a way that I can easily see all of the issues that are assigned to me across the two different products?
Yeah, you can. There's a few ways for that one. So again, being built on Jira platform, business projects are supported in JQL. So for example, if you go to the issue navigator, or if you go to like filters at the top of your screen, you'll be able to run a JQL search. You'll be able to select what projects you want to search across, or you can just clear that selection so all projects are searched, and then add in assignee as yourself. You can then save that filter, and that way you essentially have a list across all of your projects, what's everything assigned to you. And again, you can use basic search or advanced search through JQL to set different parameters around status or particular labels or fields. There's also the Your Work page as well, again, available in the top navigation, and that will show you issues assigned to you across all projects, including business projects also.
Lakshmi in the chat had a question about agile testing, and it was asking about how if we wanted to kind of implement a new agile practice, if there's a process that we need to go through within JWM to be able to implement some like methodology or a practice like agile testing.
Agile testing, I don't know if that one's really come up before. Like it's kind of a bit more of a Jira software thing, but again, the framework is there. So if you want to build in some type of like testing step to your workflow or parameters that need to be met as issues are being transitioned, and that core capability is there. But in terms of agile testing specifically, that's one I'll need to think a little bit more about, and I'll share my email at the end, so happy to collaborate and explore that question a bit more as well.
Fantastic, that's super helpful. A question now that is from the admin lens, which is about, if I have business teams and software teams that don't necessarily work super closely together, am I able to, as an admin, restrict access to certain types of projects? So maybe restrict users from not being able to access my Jira software projects, but still participate in Jira Work Management projects? Yeah,
for sure. So we lean on the same like permissions and configuration capabilities there. So if you're utilizing company managed projects, you can, for example, use in your software project, just use a permission scheme in the browse project permission to restrict permission. You can also go like one level deeper as well and set security at the issue level. So if you just want business teams to see certain issues but not others, you can set that issue level security. Again, that's like a platform capability. So it's the same as what you see in Jira Software. If you're in a team managed project, it's a little bit simpler to configure, but you can use access and custom roles, again, similar to what you can do in JSW. So it's two-way as well. So you can restrict access to your software projects, or you can restrict access to your business projects as well, depending on the needs and the sensitivity of the projects.
Manohar in the chat has a particularly difficult question. They're asking any tips for getting teams who are sort of stuck in a mindset of using Excel or other like kind of old school tools to move away from that and move into more of an agile methodology within Jira Work Management?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, a few ways to do this. So we find some of like the best practices I see with customers is when they've got really consolidated reporting and methodologies for sharing project information and work updates across the business. And a lot of the time that's really reliant on being in one platform where you can bubble up all of that information. So an example is like advanced roadmaps, like I ran through in the presentation. If you've got one business team tracking, or say all your business teams are tracking their work in Excel, but all your software teams are in Jira Software, then you're not going to get the full value of advanced roadmaps, and you're going to have an in-between person or an in-between team kind of trying to bring everything together and then roll it up. You won't be able to get the benefit of tools such as like advanced roadmaps or whatever third party you might use. It's the same. I see the same with like Jira Align. Like if you've only got your software projects coming through to Jira Align, it's really hard to make that portfolio investment. So a lot of the successful businesses I see are those businesses that are able to benefit or really embed that high level reporting and stakeholder management and leadership updates at the high level and combined across projects. And then the other thing we really find in JWM is a little bit of a brand perception out there, particularly in business teams, that Jira is something designed specifically for software teams. It's really complicated to use, very kind of developer focused. So really sitting down and explaining to teams that you do want to get on board just how simple the product is, maybe setting up a demo instance or a demo project and getting them to kind of play around with it. And just removing some of that fear around what the software is and its complication, and trying to show some of the benefits. So things such as automations, which really save time and remove kind of the need for manual intervention or more tasks on your daily to-do list. Like showcasing some of those features can also help bring customers on board as well. But it's a challenging one. It's something that does come up quite a bit across different organizations.
A common question I get when I talk to users is they're trying to make a call about whether Trello or whether Jira Work Management is the right tool for the job. Both of them obviously Atlassian products, but how would you break down the differences, and how would you help a team choose which tool to use in which situation?
Yeah, so I don't generally like to prescribe the tools to customers, but it is a question that comes up a lot. Each product has its different strengths and different things it can solve for. So it's really about giving teams the flexibility in what tools they want to use. The general way I think about it, or our team thinks about it, is Trello is really good for that unstructured work. So even in the example I did with the ideation session, that could be done really well in Trello. It's when ideas haven't quite been formed or the project hasn't quite been scoped. It's really good for that more kind of that brainstorming. Once a project starts to get more specced out and it really needs that structure, so it needs that structure around the workflows and the information that needs to be captured, then that's a really good point to move the project or the work across to Jira Work Management. Trello is also really good for like your personal organization or your personal to-do lists as well. It's a lot more flexible. Obviously, JWM, again, being built on the Jira platform, works really nicely with the other Jira products, and you can centralize your configuration and you can search for all of your issues across projects in one space. So you get a lot of that benefit in JWM. But again, it really comes down to giving the teams the flexibility across tools, really looking at like how structured does the work need to be, and what are like the core things you need to achieve with the work. But yeah, it's something that does come up quite a bit.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. I've got one last question for you that comes up reasonably commonly. I'll just remind everyone, any final calls for questions in the chat, otherwise this will be the last one. So I think you've shown us a use case here today of how Jira Work Management can be pretty transformative for a lot of teams. So I'm excited to use it, but I've got a bunch of data sitting in another project somewhere. Can you tell me how can I get that existing data? Maybe it's in Excel, or maybe it's in Trello, maybe another tool. How can I get that into Jira Work Management so I don't have to start with just a blank screen?
Yeah, so super important. So there's just out of the box, the Jira import wizard. And so you can import data from that via either JSON, CSV, or Trello, and essentially just bring that across, ingest that into your Jira Cloud instance. That's not just JWM, that's the other Jira products as well. The Jira importer is actually being rebuilt at the moment. And Matt, I don't need to tell you that because that's your team building it. But there are improvements coming to that space as well. But again, we do have the Jira import wizard. So you can, from those different file types, you can import your information across just to make that transition easier, because it's very daunting to come into a new product and then have to set up all of your data and those long running projects again.
Awesome. Thank you. I think that wraps up question time. Thanks so much, Loretta.
Cool. Thank you. Well, that's good timing because it started pouring in Sydney and I'm sitting under a tin roof. But thank you for joining me today. I'm going to leave my email here. So if you do have any other questions, and some of those questions, if we do want to explore in greater detail, my email is lbrunette@atlassian.com. We're also active on the Atlassian community, and there's a lot of rich information out there as well. This presentation will be available, the recording and the slides will be available following following JiraCon as well, along with all the other presentations. And there's a whole bunch of a range of other chats coming up after this session as well. So thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of JiraCon.